If I had to start over as a brand new SDR in 2026 with zero experience, I'd do things completely differently than what I actually did. Because when I started out, I sent 2,000 emails and booked one meeting. I hit 50 and 40% of my ramp number in my first 2 months, and I was absolutely terrible. And I can't emphasize that enough. But by month 3, I hit 150% of my overall ramp target and never missed quota again. Then I became the youngest AE of a $45 billion company at 21 years old, averaging 138% as an SDR. And here's the thing, I made every mistake possible so you don't have to. So in this video, I'm breaking down the exact roadmap I'd follow if I started from scratch today. Not theory, not just some generic LinkedIn guru advice, but an actual step-by-step system that's helped over 350 reps I've coached who've gone from struggling to consistently crushing quota. And I'm going to break it down into 4 main phases that if you execute them, I promise you'll be booking more meetings within your first week and on track to hit quota by month 2. And if you want the exact templates I use to book 147 meetings through cold email as an SDR, the same one my client's using right now to crush it, click the second link in the description below, grab it, use it, let me know how it goes. But either way, let's get into the video. So if I started as a brand new SDR in 2026, the very first thing I do, and I mean day one, is build what I call my outbound operating system. And here's why this matters. Most SDRs waste their first 3 to 6 months trying random tactics. One day they're personalizing every email because someone on LinkedIn told them to. The next day they're making 100 dials because the manager said volume's everything. Then they see a TikTok about multi-threaded and suddenly start trying that. It's chaos, and chaos doesn't produce consistent results. But before we even talk about outbound, let's talk about something most people skip. Picking the right company. When I joined my first SaaS sales role, I was a founding SDR, which sounds cool, right? But here's what that actually means. No process, no playbook, no trading. I had to build everything from scratch whilst also trying to hit quota. Would I have been better off at Salesforce or Gong where they had these proven systems? Absolutely. I got lucky that it worked out because most founding SDRs I work with, they're not as lucky. So here's what I'd look for if I was starting today and what company makes sense. The first one is product market fit. A customer's actually buying from that company. Don't just take the recruiter's word for it. Go on G2, ask current SDRs, and figure out what's going on internally. The second thing is, do they have an existing outbound process? Does the company have a system that works, not just for inbound or marketing, but for outbound specifically? If you're having to build the outbound process, it's a completely different job to being a normal SDR. And the third part is the promotion path. How long does it take for SDRs to become AEs? If the average is 18 to 24 months and you're crushing it at 12 months, will they promote you or are they just going to make you wait 2 years? Because here's the truth. Your environment determines 50% of your success. The other 50% is the system you build, which is what we're talking about now. So once you've got the job, week 1 is building your non-negotiables. When I was an SDR, I had 3 hours blocked every single day, non-negotiable. Didn't matter if I had internal meetings, didn't matter if I had things going on in my own life, these 3 hours were always protected. Hour 1 was prospecting and list building. Hour 2 was cold calling, and hour 1 was sequence creation and adding more people to the sequence. And here's what most people don't understand. If you don't block this time, somebody else will take it. Your AEs are going to schedule chats with you in your prospecting time. Your manager's going to try book a one-on-one in the middle of your cold call block. But the reps who crush quota protect their time like it's sacred. The ones who struggle let everyone else dictate their calendar for them. I used to finish at 2 p.m. on Fridays because I had a system. I wasn't working longer hours than everyone. I was just ruthlessly protective of my peak prospecting time. Now, here's what most SDR training gets completely wrong. They tell you to just work harder or make more calls, but I'm going to show you the math that actually matters. So let's say your goal is to book 12 meetings per month. Here's how you reverse engineer that to figure out the input you need to hit your goal. And for calling, let's say I want to book 12 meetings a month. Now let's assume that 20% of my conversations turn into meetings booked. That means I need to have 60 conversations. And let's say 50% of the people I connect with, I end up having a conversation. I need 120 connects. Now let's say at a 5% connect rate, I need to make 2,400 dials to get 120 connects, have 60 conversations, and book 12 meetings. Now, over the course of 20 working days, that's about 120 dials per day. Now, look, these numbers might seem high, but when you have a system, when you're not wasting time figuring out who to call, what to say, you can actually hit these consistently. The key thing to remember is you can only improve what you measure. So in week 1, I'd set up a simple tracking system. This could be on Tally app. I personally use a spreadsheet and we have this inside Outbound OS. So for emails, I track the amount of emails sent, the open rate, the reply rate, the positive reply rate, the unsub rate. For calls, I track dials made, connect rate, connect to conversation, conversation to meeting, and meetings booked. Because the biggest mistake SDRs make is being emotional about their results instead of mathematical. If you know you need 120 dials a day and you're only making 30, you don't have a skill problem, you have a volume problem. Now, if you're making 120 dials and you're still booking no meetings, you don't have a volume problem, you have a messaging problem. The math always tells you where to focus. The numbers really don't lie. All right, so week 2 is where most SDRs just blow it. They've got their calendar set up, they're ready to prospect. Then they sit down and realize, what on earth do I actually say? And this is where I wasted most of my time when I got started. I'd spend 2 hours crafting the perfect email, send it to 20 people, only to see it bounce from 5 people, and I get no responses from the rest, and I'd have no idea why. So here's exactly how I'd build my messaging today. First thing, you need to know who you're targeting and what they care about right now. So here's exactly what I'd do. I'd create what I call an ICP breakdown and the persona matrix. Step 1 is to identify your top 3 ICP companies that you'd sell to. Maybe it's SaaS companies, maybe it's construction companies, maybe it's manufacturing, but you need to figure out what industries make sense for you to sell to. Step 2 is for each ICP company. Now I'm going to figure out what people make sense for me to sell to inside those companies. Maybe it's a VP of sales, maybe it's the RevOps, maybe it's the sales development leader. And phase 3 is to identify the triggers that might indicate they need my solution now. So if I was trying to sell Outbound OS and the consulting we do, could be a sales leader who's just got promoted in the first 90 days because they may be making changes. Maybe the company's just raised a funding round as they could go on a hiring spree and need help with the reps. Or maybe they've posted on LinkedIn about hiring, which shows they're growing the team and could need help with the onboarding. The key is the trigger only becomes a trigger if it's relevant to their role and what you fix. Seeing somebody went to college in Michigan, that's not a trigger. That's just some random personal information that doesn't tie to their pain. But seeing a VP of sales who posted a job about hiring 5 SDRs, that's a great trigger for me at Outbound OS. They're scaling and they probably need some help with that ramp time. So now once you've got your ICPs and your triggers aligned, you need to structure the actual messaging. Now, this is the framework that I use to average 8 to 10% reply rates as an SDR through cold email. And it's what I teach to all the clients we work with. It's called the TIPS framework. So the first part is T, which stands for trigger, which is you lead with why you're reaching out now. This goes in the first line, so it's in the email preview. Something like, hey, I noticed you recently joined company as the VP of sales. Saw you post about hiring 5 SDRs. Lead with that trigger. The next line is implication. So based on that trigger, what may they be focused on? Use hedge words, things like curious, imagine, to plant the seed of the issue. So again, this could look like curious, how you're planning to get them ramped up quickly, or imagine you're looking to get them up to speed in their first few months. Then we move into pain. We always want to call out a surface level issue before we go into the key things about what we do. So something like most sales teams we talk to say it takes 4 to 6 months to get their SDRs fully ramped. Then we go into a second order consequence. What is the impact of that surface level pain? Something like, which means 72% of teams end up missing their yearly forecast when they've hired over 4 new BDRs. Now, this is worth solving to this persona. The next S is social proof. Show the desired outcome or how you help somebody get there. Key thing is you want to show who you helped, what you helped them do, and how quickly you helped them get there. Something like, we helped Gong hit 122% of their yearly target while hiring 4 new BDRs in less than 7 months. Then the next S is solution. Be very brief, mention what you do, but keep it short through our outbound consulting as an example. And the last S is a soft CTA. Seek to start the conversation, not book a meeting. Something like worth a chat or think this could help. So again, as a full example, it could read, hey John, noticed you recently joined Gong as the VP of sales. Thought you could be looking into how you're going to ramp up the new SDRs in their first few months. Most SDRs I talk to say it takes 4 to 6 months to get their team fully up to speed, which means over 70% of teams miss their yearly target when they've hired 5 new BDRs. We helped Acme hit 122% of their yearly target in under 7 months through our outbound consulting. Think this could be worth a chat. That's it. Under 100 words, gets to the point, but more importantly, talks about pain. Now, here's where most SDRs completely drop the ball, and it's follow-ups. They send one email, get no response, and just give up. Or they send some generic bumping this up email that does nothing. So here's my follow-up strategy that I use for everything. Follow-up 1 is typically 48 hours later. It's what we call the thoughtful bump, where we reference a trigger. So given ramp time is probably top of mind in your first 90 days, any thoughts on the last note? Follow-up 2 is 24 hours after that, which is something like a third-party value. Just saw this article from Salesforce on reducing ramp time. thought it could be useful given you're building a team. And the last follow-up is something like a case study. This would read, we just helped insert company achieve result, like cut their runtime from 5 minutes to 2. Here's the link. Would this be relevant? 3 follow-ups over a short time horizon. If they don't respond, then they're probably not that interested right now. And look, if you're watching this thinking, Aaron, this is great, but I need help actually implementing this in my role, I get it. And that's why we built Outbound OS. It is the complete outbound operating system I use to go from struggling to hit quota to averaging 138%. And it's what we're teaching to over 350 reps right now. We literally build your sequences together, review messaging, and just give you the playbook for your offer and your ICP. So if you want to see if it's a fit, there's a link in the description, the top one, to book a call with my team where they'll run through exactly how we work so we can go from there. But either way, let's keep going because phase 3 is where most SDRs fall apart and it's probably the easiest to fix. All right, so you've got your foundation, you've got your messaging. Now it's time to execute. This is where the rubber meets the road. And most SDRs fail here, not because they don't know what to do, they fail because they don't have a daily system that makes execution automatic. So here's the exact daily system that I'd use. I'd always focus on blocking it. So for example, Monday from 8 till 9:30 a.m., I'd send cold emails to group A. From 9:30 to 11, I'd call group B. From 11 to 12, I'd do follow-ups and inbox management. And from 2 to 3:30, I'd make cold calls to group B, continuing from what I did earlier. On Tuesday, I would then email group B, call group A, do the follow-ups and follow the same process. And this is what we call the ABAB pattern. Group A gets emails on Monday, call Tuesday, email Wednesday, versus group B gets the opposite. And this means every prospect gets multiple touches from multiple different channels across the week. And because you alternate and you're not burning out one specific activity, you're spreading it across the board. And the biggest mistake SDRs make is try to do everything every day. They'll email for 30 minutes, make 10 calls, respond to slides, jump on a demo, and make 5 more calls. It's just chaos, right? And this chaos is what kills momentum. Instead, you should focus on batching your work. When you're emailing, you're only emailing. When you're calling, you only call. Now, here's the real game changer. You should always do your hardest task first. This concept is called eat the frog. If you had to eat a frog every day, when would you do it? First thing in the morning is probably the best answer, because if you wait until the end of the day, your whole day is ruined just thinking about it. And for most SDRs, cold calling is the frog. So here's what I do. I would always set the first hour of the day every day to cold calling. Not emails, not Slack, not warming up, log in at 9, dial at 9:01. Because if you wait until 2 p.m. to start calling, you'll spend the whole day dreading it. But if you knock out your calling block first thing, the rest of the day is just easy. Plus, early morning calls can have a higher connect rate. Now, let's talk about the hardest part of being an SDR, rejection. And when I first started in face-to-face sales, I'd approach 100 people a day, and 96 would say no. Sometimes I go an entire day and make 0 sales and 0 commission, which means I'd earn nothing. And I come home depressed, and my mum would ask me if I'd sold anything. And if it was a no, it was brutal. But then I learned something that changed the trajectory of my career forever, which is to focus on the numbers, not the outcomes, and something called the law of averages. Now, here's what I mean. If I need 4 sales in a day and I know my conversion rate is 4%, I don't need to think, oh, I need to get 4 yeses. I just need to think I need to talk to 100 people, because I can control approaching 100 people, but I can't control whether they buy. But the more important thing is I know that every single no is getting me closer to a yes if I maintain my attitude, keep the system at the same level, and maintain the input. The same thing works. If you need to book 12 meetings this month, don't think I need to get 12 meetings. Think I need to do 2,400 emails and 2,400 dials. There's a few reasons this works very well. The first one is it removes emotion completely. You're not devastated by a no because it's just one of the 96 no's you need to get through to find your 4 yeses. The second is it makes success simple. If you hit your numbers, you will get your results. It's math, not magical guesswork. And the last one is it tells you where to focus. If you're hitting your activity numbers, but not getting meetings, you probably have a messaging problem. And if you're not hitting your numbers, you just have a discipline problem. And the biggest shift for me as an SDR was when I stopped thinking, did I book a meeting today? And started thinking, did I hit my 120 emails and 120 dials today? Because if I did that, the meetings would naturally come. Maybe not today. There's a lagging indicator. Maybe not this week, but they would come over the course of a month. The last thing for execution, every Friday at 2 p.m., I'd do a weekly review. I'd pull up my tracking sheet and ask myself 4 questions. Number 1, did I hit my activity goals? Through the amount of emails, the amount of dials I wanted to make. I'd have my target, the actual, and the gap. Second one was, what was my conversion rates? Email response rates, call connect rate, call conversation to meeting, all the metrics I mentioned earlier. Number 3, what worked well this week? Did I change anything that's working well? Did I get more responses from one persona than another? Like what call times were working the best? And number 4, what do I need to change next week? Do I need to fix messaging? Did I have low reply rates? Do I need to fix volume if I missed my activity goals? Do I need to fix targeting if I had high replies but low positive replies? And the 15-minute review every week is what separates top performers from average reps. Average reps just keep doing the same thing over and over and hope for a different outcome, versus top performers analyze their data, identify the gaps, and fix them together. All right, so if you've done everything in phases 1 to 3, you should be hitting quota by month 2 or 3. But here's the question. How would you go from hitting quota to being a top rep? And this is what phase 4 is about: optimization and scale. So the first decision you need to make is, what channel do you want to master? Because here's the reality. You can't be world class at email and calls and LinkedIn and multi-threading. Top reps I coach pick one channel first and become absolutely dominant at it. For me, it was cold email. I focused on becoming the best email writer on my team, tested subject lines obsessively, A/B tested every element until I developed the tips framework and analyzed my reply rates every single week. The result, I got an 8% response rate as an SDR, while most people on my team were getting 2 to 3%. That extra 5 to 6% meant I could send a half, even a third of the volume, and get the same amount of meetings. Or if I sent the same volume, I would get 2 to 3x the amount of meetings to all the other reps. For other reps I coach, though, it can be calling. They become absolute assassins on the phone, testing scripts, recording themselves, analyzing their objection handling. And for others, it could be LinkedIn. They build a personal brand, post consistently, and book meetings through DMs and profile views. But the key thing is to pick one first, then master it, then layer in the others. Don't try to become a master of them all at once. Now, once you pick your channel, you need a testing framework. So here's how I actually do it. Number 1, I set my baseline. This is my standard. Baseline is where you currently are. So I look at the metrics, my current open rate, reply rate, positive reply rate. The next thing is I look to test one variable. So I come up with a thesis on what I think could happen, i.e., if I change my pain from X to Y, I think I will get more responses. So then I choose the one metric that I want to track, which would be, in this case, positive reply rate. Then I'm going to choose a secondary metric that could be affected, i.e., overall reply rate. The key thing here, though, is to choose one variable to test at a time. If you change multiple, the experiment fails. You have to only change one thing at a time. So in this case, the one variable is going to be the pain of the messaging. Again, most SDRs test everything at once: a new subject line, new trigger, new CTA. So even if they do see an improvement, they have no idea what actually drove the improvement. So test one variable, measure, and then you have the decision. Do you pivot and try something different, or do you preserve and keep doing what's been working? And then you test the next variable and constantly do it. This is called scientific method. The Lean Startup is also a great book to understand this in more detail. And this process is how I went from 3% reply rates to 8% reply rates in less than 6 months. It wasn't from some magic bullet. It was from dozens of small tests that compounded over time. And the last piece, this is optional, but massively powerful, is to build a personal brand. And here's why this matters. If you send a cold email, prospects Google you. If your LinkedIn is empty or just is SDR at company with no post, no personality, nothing, you're just a commodity. But if they Google you and see helpful content about their industry, followers who engage with what you do, if they can see you clearly know what you're talking about, suddenly you're not just some other SDR, you're actually a resource. I started posting on LinkedIn in my last 3 months as an SDR, nothing crazy, just sharing what I was learning, my reply experiments, my outbound tips. And the result, prospects would actually see me and reference the fact they've seen my content as it was valuable. It built instant credibility. And when I decided to start coaching, I had an audience of over 10,000 SDRs who already trusted me. So here's what I'd do starting in month 3. Every single day, I would try to post one piece of content Monday to Friday. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be a personal story. You could talk about an industry piece that's relevant to your prospects. You could even just talk about something related in your job. But the key thing is to consistently post education, personal stories, show your face, be someone who actually adds value instead of just being another SDR. And for 30 minutes a week, just engage with a few people. Leave comments on your prospects' posts, like what they're doing, engage with them to build real relationships. It's not about going viral. It's just about being visible and creating credibility in your market. All right. So that's exactly what I'd do if I started as an SDR in 2026. I'd build the foundation, dial in my messaging, then execute on that ABAB cadence, then just optimize what's working. And look, if you follow everything I just walked through with the ICPs, the personas, the triggers, the tips framework, the daily system, you can crush it. But the reality is most SDRs won't. 70% miss their quota. they'll watch a video like this, they'll feel great, then get stuck when it comes to actually building their sequences or figuring out what to say. Because it's one thing to understand the framework, but it's another thing to apply it to your offer with your buyers and actually get it working in your role. And that's why we actually built Outbound OS. It's literally the operating system that I used and we install in your day-to-day. We build the sequences, review your messaging, and make sure it's actually working. So if you want to see if it's a fit, click the first link in the description to book a call with our team and we'll run through what we do. Thanks for watching the video and I'll see you in the next one.